drafting phase will start in a matter of seconds. Team KBG is up to the test, and Team IMPERIO is also up there to prove that they can be better than great. The drafting phase already started, and whoa. Yi Sun Shin as a ban from Team KBG.
Okay, interesting that they decided to go that route. You know, the response even from IMPERIO, they go ahead and take out the Bruno. That makes sense. The Matilda. Now, the YSS ban, I feel like could be something they just don't want to deal with, you know, for the most part. It is possibility, too, that YSS still can actually carry some games into in a certain situation, certain environment, but does it warrant the ban, Arashi? You know, maybe you can expound on that.
If they had any unique experience we haven't seen just yet, then maybe. But on paper so far, from all the other tournaments, we have not seen that the Yi Sun Shin is that big of a powerhouse. Although, as you mentioned, we've seen Assassins come back into the meta, and you can count Yi Sun Shin as a marksman, but technically he is also an assassin. So it might just work. It might be a different meta we haven't seen. That's exactly what we want to see. Although, with that, all the other bans are still pretty typical. The Guinevere, the Faramis as well. Now that's where you will start to wonder, are they going to bring out something crazy in the picks? Because that is what I personally am waiting for.
Yeah, man, that's crazy from Team KBG. They have just banned that Yi Sun Shin, and maybe, just a maybe, they have studied IMPERIO and they knew that they have a monster Yi Sun Shin among them. But so far, so good. The first pick for Team KBG, they take that Joy, and Joy have already proven that it is a really good pick to be brought up to the international scene, even after she got a little bit nerfed. But Team KBG, will they bring up surprise or not? That's the hard question.
I think that's one of the main points, right? The Joy, not much of a surprise so far, but is there something up their sleeve? Is there a niche pick? Is there a cheese pick that they like to go for? You know, the fact that they did also take out the Guinevere makes sense. Like you mentioned earlier, Yasu, you know, you're not really expecting to see the Guinevere pop up here, as flexible as that hero can be. So the last pick here on that swing back was going to be the Angela, who we've seen pop up now quite often so far, just to start off day number one, paired up with that Terizla. What's the answer from KBG?
Well, with the Terizla being picked in, so you don't expect a Khalid, you don't expect a Yuzong. So usually Baxia comes to mind, and with KBG already selecting a Joy, unless they flex it in a very forced way, they won't be able to get this Baxia away from the hands of IMPERIO. So the order of picks here makes sense. But here, can they just pick something? Are they going to go for a counter pick? Are they going to go for flex picks? They can just confuse IMPERIO. Turns out it's going to be the Lilia and going to be the Arlott that was banned a lot in match number 1.
Actually, I quite like KBG's draft because they have slowdown effect and they have a really good team fight. Crowd control is already there even before like having the rumor if like Arlott didn't decide somehow to be the rumor. And also they have a really good amount of damage, which is mostly magical damage, but KBG team haven't brought up the marksman yet or the gold laner, and I think that they might. It might be a plan for them to go to the second phase without a marksman. But will IMPERIO team take a marksman and focus on banning it? I don't know.
Well, with that, again, you know, KBG admitted that their hero pool might be a little less than what people are expecting to see or what they're used to seeing. But maybe they've just mastered, you know, some of that limited options that they've had the time to prepare, and you could see the execution there. Now, that response, once again, 1-1 popping up here from IMPERIO. This is a gold lane option that we don't see too successful nowadays from, you know, the former glory days of 1-1 being picked up all the time.
Do you think that after IMPERIO's team got that 1-1 and started focusing on the gold lane, KBG, after taking the jungler, will they focus on the jungler or not?
On the jungle bans, perhaps, but no, the mid lane is what they're targeting. They want to make sure that no fast clear is available. One of the only heroes that can really match Lilia is the Novaria, so that will be denied away. Here's a fun fact. They believe in luck, and when they're practicing in the coach's house, they always use the exact same chairs for good luck. That's from IMPERIO, so
they
we'll
should have
see
brought them here.
If they get lucky. maybe they are sitting on their own custom chairs.
They have the custom secret labs in their coach's place.
Yeah,
Ooh.
and maybe all the stars are aligned for Team IMPERIO to have their best moments, and maybe they will take this back home. So Team IMPERIO so far, again, so far so good in terms of the draft, except for that Yi Sun-shin. It is a surprise to me. So yeah, you can see that even the fans, they have some fans already, let's go KBG, and people are rooting in the stage for KBG. But IMPERIO team, they have that Diggy in the ban list, and now they use more crowd control into it. It's a really good combination so far.
They won a full-on team fight, but KBG respawned. First is the carry to shred down these tanky members. The Terizla and the Kufra will not be able to stand in front of the carry for a long period of time at all. And the X-Borg just is to deny the pickoff and to deny the bit of the crossbow of tank damage. Because, you know, in MPLI, Wolf was mentioning that this 1-1 is one of the best marksmen in the game, but that's only when you have all the right prerequisites.
Yeah.
For now, a lot of crowd control, an Angela to boot, that is a lot of damage. And you wonder, is it going to be a protect the 1-1 strategy? Because Blacklist was the one using it in MPLI. If they want to go for a mage right here, it's also an option, but it's a Roger!
Oh.
What?
The Wolf is coming. The Wolf is coming.
Wow.
We see that right now. Roger is being brought up to the international
As we
scene.
mentioned Wolf,
Yeah, Wolf.
they picked Roger. Coincidence? Is it possible?
Maybe a coincidence. Maybe they heard you. That's why they took the Wolf. So
All right.
after the game, or like after the draft finished, who do you lean towards, Naisu?
Man, with that Roger pick, I don't know. That's a big risk plus the 1-1. So right now I'm going to have to go with the lineup for KBG. It's more standard-ish in a way. There's some variation there. But again, we'll see if this has plays a fact that they have a limited hero pool. Maybe they've mastered these heroes and they make it work. We'll see. We'll find out.
Yeah, in their first appearance, KBG are now challenging themselves to be better than great. The game will begin, and the second match will be here with us, brought to you by Kadia, brought to you by the sponsors for the sponsors for this game, Simba. Okay, Simba in the jungle. So Simba is there. I don't know if there is like a fun fact behind that, but anyways, KBG's team and also IMPERIO's team will start the classical way.
Aurora against Simba, man. Can he win it against the king of the jungle? We must see. I think what I'm also curious about is the roaming Arlet right here, because usually there's a lot of reasons why the Arlet does well, but it's almost a necessity. If the Arlet falls behind, KBG is going to find it very difficult. But look at the EXP lane, and see, just doing a lot of damage, true damage.
Oh, Tide's already going to have to flicker around. There's Aurora. First blood going to the hands of IMPERIO right away. Under a minute. Simba should be just fine to back off, but that's a good start for IMPERIO already.
And this first blood game was like brought to you by Kadia, and right now, let's have a quick look at the emblems.
Look at the agility and wilderness blessings available for Keep Best, but
Steffi going to be in trouble here. He flickers out. There's Aurora again. One hit away. He'll get it. Does the turret take him out? It doesn't. IMPERIO off to a strong start. Tides will finally get a kill. Oh, he's on the hunt. Aurora, level 4, level 2 Tides. Aurora gonna run into the wall, and it'll be a double for Tides.
There can be only one king in the jungle, and so far it has been the Wolf.
It's been the Wolf, but he gets taken out there, unfortunately. But this is what IMPERIO wants. Even if they don't really win super hard in the early game, that late game 1-1 is what they're waiting for. And level 4 is where they can try and use this Angela Roger combo. We haven't seen it before, but in theory, right, more movement speed, more damage, it can definitely work in favor of IMPERIO Esports.
But the thing I haven't seen quite much is the babysitting of the Angela, but for the XP lane.
There it is right there. Aurora with hard guard. They slam into KBG, but Steffi's gonna fall. They still have some firepower to go through. Marquino's in trouble. He will fall. It's a double. CU gets it on this X-Borg. They're gonna back off for now. Aurora could go ahead and take this buff as well. Alongside, they took the turtle, but there's fight left in KBG.
That was a bit extra from IMPERIO, man. It seemed like they already got the neutral objective. They can really walk away, but they go in and tank the whole last Insanity. Granted, it's still an early game situation right here. No real items for the X-Borg just yet. But if they repeat the kind of mistake, it might be fatal later on, as Ur is able to actually avoid a gank. That mobility is mainly what makes the 1-1 so good. if the items can come in and provide more damage on top of the utility, that is the ideal situation that IMPERIO want to look for.
Well, KBG is pulling off a quite good performance compared to Nova team that we have witnessed in the MPLI. So for some of you who might have expected, yeah, the KBG wouldn't like have a chance, or like based on history, they wouldn't, or like they will not play good. Well, they are playing good. They are ahead in goal, just with a little bit, but they know what exactly they are doing, and they are executing it really, really smoothly.
And it's a great execution so far, but they need to do a bit more than that, because if they want to really take over, they have to try and push the advantage right here and use what they have. Tides with 2 kills right here is going to be a bit too difficult to deal with, especially in the early game, at least 1v1. That is something that they have to try and take advantage of, and maybe do some aggressive maneuvers into the jungle, right? Let Simba, the rightful king of the jungle, to assert his dominance.
Well, the king in the jungle, as I told you, there should be just one king in the jungler. A ship with 2 captains always sinks. So this ship should have only one captain and only one ruler in the jungle. Would it be Simba, or will it be Aurora? You're in the mid lane is trying to just like freeze the lane a little bit against God Yang. And so far so good. Team IMPERIO and Team KBG are just around the corner to be equal to each other.
Once again, it's going to be a 4 versus 4 for the Turtle. They're going to jump in. Penalty zone, finding 2. LMU going to be in trouble. Hard guard comes through. Simba will get the Turtle. Can they get the fight? Simba's still going to back off. They're trying to get Marquino. They can't find him. Tides flickers out, stays alive, or tried to, as he gets 1 shot left by Aurora as he finds the kill.
What a fadeaway by Aurora right there. That was a messy fight, but IMPERIO, they're still coming on top technically. I think Keybest Gaming were just a bit too overzealous right there, almost baited. And when they're kiting backwards from IMPERIO, that's where it's kind of dangerous, because they do have that Lilia that outputs that damage, and the Purify makes it so difficult for IMPERIO to get a decisive kind of team fight, because there's always going to be a back and forth kiting situation. For now though, the fact that Aurora has 3 kills is definitely not ideal, and he, I believe, is out-farming Simba, having a 1-level advantage. So that is something that IMPERIO need to be using to their advantage.
I'm impressed actually by the performance of both teams, because so far IMPERIO have been showing really good performance, and KBG, it seems like he knows what's happening inside that bush. He just doesn't want to get in because he knows it's a diff bush, and if he went in, he will just like lose his life, and it's not worth it. They don't like, how can I say, they don't want to play an aggressive gameplay, and also I think that they have prepared so much.
Yeah, again, a part of this is protect Godyak, right? Let him shine on this carry later on. And the fact that Tides kind of stalled this initiation from IMPERIO for now is great. And you can see some of the backup from LMU is coming in as well. We'll see if they can keep it together. Godyak going to be the focus here. Under the turret they go. That's a lot of damage. Plus the hard guard comes through. They get the lockdown. Godyak going to fall. Simba joining the party. Can he get a kill? Gets the minion to clear it out. Keeps the turret alive. But they lost 2 bodies for KBG.
What an insane dive right there. Godyak just does not have enough damage to really compete in that situation. And that was even before the crossbow of Tang was used. So IMPERIO Esports, this isn't even their final form. They can go even harder than LMU.
Gets the crossbow of Tang off that time. He's going to take out LMU. And now a Turtle, 3rd one of the game up. Does KBG actually want to contest this? They're still relatively keeping the gold even. But you can see the decision-making coming through. Final slash. There's the hard guard already being used on Aurora. They're trying to fight it out. Last Insanity can come through as well. They force IMPERIO back for now. So you're going to have to flicker out. He stays alive. No one falls. But Turtle still for the taking here for IMPERIO.
I think that Export pick is the one that Team KBG focuses on to carry on the early game, but the late game damage will be most focused on that carry and the true damage.
Simba goes in, takes the Turtle, just like that. KBG didn't even need to contest it. They believed in Simba, and he did it.
Smooth criminal right there, just stealing it from under their noses. Now engaged though from Steffi. It's going to work.
Yep, they get the last Insanity out. That is a resource out for now. But again, great thing from KBG. They are keeping up with IMPERIO right now.
Yeah, they are keeping up, and actually I'm surprised by how much they are showing in their first appearance. KBG is really doing really great, but Team IMPERIO on the other hand is also doing a decent, and like showing a decent amount of experience, Team IMPERIO might actually be a dark horse.
Dark Horse, IMPERIO. I mean, KBG is also doing really, really good because if you notice, right, there've been a lot of traps set up by IMPERIO, but Tides just hasn't been falling for it. He keeps predicting where they're where they're setting up the trap and avoiding it, showing great instincts so far. And they're only letting Siyu just stand in the front and take the damage, knowing that he can just escape with the Firaga armor. And as time passes, Simba and Godyang are gonna do even more and more damage. Mumu as well. Afterwards, IMPERIO, the one that's going to fall off, because if they build a Wind of Nature or a Winter Truncheon, that could be the end of it.
Yeah,
very decisive. Again, Steffi going to find the mark. Tide's going to be in trouble. Final slash, trying to buy some time. CU joins, LMU is there as well. Can they turn the tide? Crossbow of Tang going to be expended, and they back off after that. IMPERIO knows exactly what they want to do.
KPG knows that IMPERIO wants to force that team fight, and they know that they have to go back. I really admire how many times Team KPG and their map awareness was there to avoid inevitable fights, but to get the best, I'm gonna say the best outcome from such an inevitable ending fight for Team IMPERIO. So far, they are depending so much on that X-Borg. Do you think that, when will we see the carry shine?
I think at about 13 minutes, that's the general assumption. It's late game kind of, even though it's not super, super late game. Once the core items are done, there's gonna be danger coming in from Keep Best Gaming. But afterwards, in the late game, let's say 16, 17 minutes, that's where we expect Keep Best Gaming to itemize accordingly and just nullify a lot of the tools that IMPERIO has. The healing, for example, they can get reduction for that. They can go for immunity to deal with the crossbow of Tang. Once they do that, I think the late game is dangerously difficult for IMPERIO to beat. So they gotta try and make use of this Lord as much as possible.
Yeah, they have opened up that bot lane just to keep KBG busy until they get the Lord. Do they want the Lord, or do they want the team
Simba's
fight?
not even there for this Lord, but most likely going to go in the hands of IMPERIO.
Oh.
Aurora does get it. Simba still pushing to the top side. CU in trouble, has the immortality. Godyang trying to help him out, but won't be enough. A couple hits away, and they find it. Now Godyang left alone under the turret, trying to bob, trying to weave, still going, keeping alive for as long as he can. Will finally fall.
Simba.
So KBG trying to find something.
They are trying to fight something, but they just got one turret in exchange for a Lord. Maybe at some point, maybe that's a good exchange, but look at both junglers. They are just like hungry. You know, like Simba, he's hungry. Wolf, he's also hunting blood. So both of them want to get that kill, but they are now back to safety, and Team KBG approaches a defensive phase.
It's a 2.3k gold lead, and IMPERIO are trying to increase it even more with this Lord. I think that Keep Best Gaming are just content on staying under the turrets, just playing it really, really safe right now. They have the late game, I would say. It's great confidence.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, they let go of too many things. The gold lead can just spiral out of control. I think generally, to be able to just brute force win the game, most people would say about 10k is where it's at. So 7k gold lead.
Oh! Huge initiation from IMPERIO under the turret. Can they still continue on? LMU gonna grab a kill. Marquino in trouble. Heart Guard gonna be used as well. Aurora grabs a kill. IMPERIO is hungry, but all they got out of it is Tides.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That flicker ultimate, that flicker engagement from the Kufra was really good. It was well executed. They didn't get most of the kills. All of them ran away, but Tide was there to be the sacrificial lamb.
Look at the gold swing though. Generally, I think it swung in favor of Keep Best Gaming. They can take whatever trade any trade they can get right now, they definitely want, but CU.
CU gonna be in trouble here. Took quite a bit. Aurora, again, we talked about the combination, the Heart Guard with this Roger, the way that he works. It's too fast for KBG to deal with right now.
The amount of split bushing that Simba is doing making me feel like he's an Hayabusa or maybe a Fanny, because he's so focused on that bush.
He can 1v1 anyone, I feel like, at this point, unless he really makes a big mistake. For IMPERIO, though, they have a very one-dimensional teamfight style, right? Yur generally is the one in charge of dealing the damage, so if they can zone him away, they can go for a fight without him available. Oh, I just said that, but he just takes it away.
He does take it away, but we wanna know the in-game equipment with you, Arashi. What is like catching your eyes right now?
Well, for now, no real Wind of Nature done yet for Godyang, so he can't really be as aggressive as he wants, but he does have damage. So if IMPERIO dives in a bit too aggressively,
Oh, Tide's going to be in trouble. Final slash on 4 members, but nothing to follow up with. So despite that, they can't do anything about it. IMPERIO building on the momentum you talked about, Arashi. They're now nearly 5K ahead and Lord in sight.
Even by having that final slash taking 5 members of Team IMPERIO, there was no backup, there was no follow-up from the team KBG. Will they go for that Lord? That's a huge question.
Steffi gonna charge in again, finds LMU, gets that Purify out. They're gonna keep the map bay. Still, Lord gonna be worked on by Aurora, and there's nothing KBG can do about it for now.
I think that Simba, will they rely on Simba to take a neutral objective once again alone?
ooh, I mean, I think that's a bit too idealistic. There's so many ways that IMPERIO can really stop Simba from even coming close to the Lord. But now that he has that Winter Truncheon, this is what I'm talking about. The more counters they have towards the main damage source of IMPERIO, the better they can do. And at this point, Lumu on that Lilia is doing a lot of damage. If they can coordinate and get Tides to engage with him, there could be a lot of potential, but no.
Yeah, he's going to be in trouble here. Black Shoe's already going to be used, but look at all the damage and members from IMPERIO. Simba trying to help him out, joins the fight, pops the damage. LMU will go down, and meanwhile on the bottom side, they were trying to defend the base. KBG being split up, and now the Lord making its way top side.
IMPERIO can rely on the Lord to finish that job and to take that kill, and now the base is cracked wide open. Just one mid lane turret is still there.
Stefan gonna jump in again, finds his mark. They're going for it. Penalty zone gonna be used along with the crossbow tang, and now the base gonna be worked on. IMPERIO will take game number 1.
IMPERIO team takes game number 1 in a best-of-3 series. What a nice finish.
IMPERIO, man, with all the aggression, making the Roger work. That was such an insane performance, and despite the potential in the late game, KBG just was not allowed to get there.
This is interesting, right? I mean, you see Aurora, you see him in person, you see the hero he picks, you see his play style. It reminds me of someone, right? Ooh. But again, a great performance there from Aurora and from IMPERIO, the team as a whole. They, you know, for a while, KBG, they kept things together, and then it just snowballed out of hand. And so you're wondering exactly how do they adjust from that, right? Because this one was a tough mid to end game transition they had to deal with.
Yeah, and they had some mistakes, but not crucial mistakes. So I think that KBG, once they get back to the room, they can discuss those mistakes and think what is better to be changed and to be to bring on a better performance. IMPERIO, on the other hand, they are doing just fine, and I think even at drafting, they're also doing fine.
I feel like in the drafts, I think it's a two-parter, right? The drafts have potential depending on how the fight goes, but even how they play out the fights, right? KBG were caught in multiple AoE spells again and again. And if you look at their composition, a lot of the heroes don't really need to be with each other to make the plays happen, right? Even the Lilia, to an extreme degree, can just go in aggressively solo and then Black Shoes out. But they stay together like a team fight composition. And in this situation, in this context, with IMPERIO Esports just still ahead in gold, I think it's a bit too dangerous to just clump up against them and get run down as 5.
Like, I'll say this, KBG this game, there was a lot of hope there. There was a lot of hopeful moments in this, and I feel like they relatively, with the draft that they had, they did well enough, right? I mean, for the first game, they might be working on some nerves, some shakes here and everything else, but based on this performance from game 1, the foundation, you can see it's starting to be set. Again, they had not as much time as some of these other teams to prepare for this, but I will say, at least from what we saw, you know, previously in the MPLI, this is more, there's some promise here, right? There's promise that they could pull through. They just have to, I guess the biggest thing is how fast can they adjust? How fast can they learn from the mistakes that they clearly made in this game, right? There's, at one point, again, Simba was trying to push the top side lane while they were dealing with the Lord, right? So there's something they have to work on, and also just the rotation-wise as a whole would be something that they want to go back and look at. And now we wait for the game MVP here. There he is.
Oh, he's looking absolutely pleased to be here right now.
That Roger pick.
The Roger pick, man. Well, MVP of the game here, Aurora on that Roger. Definitely making a huge statement. And getting the snowball, he wanted a very aggressive emblem set right here. And usually, it's a bit too risky. You lose out on a lot of value on the other emblems, but he's able to make it work. And with a 94% kill participation, he definitely was the go-to weapon for IMPERIO Esports, and he's able to deliver as well. This is what we're waiting for, man, since the beginning, since match 1. Where are all these off-meta picks that we haven't seen in a long, long time? Finally, we see one, and it comes out strong.
Yeah, and also like you have to put in like into your consideration that there's a lot of pressure on both teams because there's a lot of expectation on both teams, and on Team KBG, they are, let's say, majority of people are expecting them to be a dark horse. So there's a lot of pressure. They are against a huge challenge, but who wins that challenge so far is Team IMPERIO.
Yeah, I think IMPERIO had the right idea. They had the more executable game plan. And for KBG, I can't help but feel that initially they were doing just fine. They were stalling for time. But the mid game, when they felt like, okay, you know what? We have some power spikes, some items. Let's go and risk it and start going for fights. That's where they really start falling short. So maybe it's only a matter of waiting a little bit longer, because you can see that when they were spread out, when they were avoiding fights as much as possible, IMPERIO were struggling to really find those big team fights, those big pickoffs. So I think that is something that they can definitely try and do.
Not only that, you know, but in just a second, we're going to look at the highlights here and kind of how this all unfolded. But one of the main things, too, is, yeah, you know, Aurora was able to shine as MVP, but a lot of that, too, had to deal with the fact that you have Fashion here on that Angela, able to provide the heart guard. You see a lot of these early skirmishes also go in their favor because of that. I mean, even this, right? The snowball kind of already started, and that's why I say KBG did a good job. Despite this, they found their own counterattack, right? They found their own punishes against IMPERIO, but unfortunately, it wasn't consistent throughout the entire game.
And I think when they just relied too early to try and go for a proper 5v5, because like we mentioned, the damage is definitely there, but not when they fight, you know, sporadically like this. They need to try and make sure that they have the right idea. They can corral IMPERIO Esports into the right zones to just, you know, output the damage they really are trying to get. And you're gonna feel bad for Godyang, man. He was trying to survive as much as possible, and you see some mechanical plays from some Happy Feet, kind of dodge away from a lot of spells. But overall, in the end, he did not get to that power spike where he can actually make a difference in who comes out on top in a big fight.
And also, drafting-wise, KBG are doing good. But they need to work a little bit on their macro and micro skills. Well, actually, the micro skills were good, but the execution and like getting the best use out of it just wasn't there.
Yeah, they gotta be very careful about this, man, because you can see that every time they lose a fight, IMPERIO has the right composition to just run them down. They have so much mobility tools, 1-1 with the hops. I mean, the Angela and the Roger, there's just so much movement speed that you can really escape from this comp. So they gotta play it safer instead of being more aggressive in the mid game. And they also didn't get to coordinate the big crowd control tools they have, like the final slash from Tides here, with a lot of damage. Like even here, Godyang tried to output it, but it wasn't. Godyang doesn't do AoE. He does single target damage. So I do wonder here. I feel like solutions are available. If they went for a bit more AoE, they can come out on top. If they went for a different marksman even, they can do that as well. Because if you go with a carry, it's almost like a 1-1, but even worse, right? You have to have even more tools to really get you in the late game, to get you security in the team fights as well.
Well, there was no wasted opportunity for me for Team KBG, but do you think if Joy came to that Lord fight, if you remember when Joy was pushing on up the top lane, do you think that it would have made any difference for Team KBG?
I think the Joy being away from the Lord isn't unheard of. We've seen Assassins go for a split push approach, especially when they can't really win in the team fights. And that is the exact situation that KBG were in. So splitting was fine. I think the problem was everyone else was approaching the Lord, right? They should be actively trying to avoid giving IMPERIO anything but the Lord. But instead, it's a bit of a split focus, right? They want to do two things at the same time, and both just ended up not being that good for the team.
Or like go even for two different objectives and make IMPERIO team, yeah, go take the Lord, but we will use that time, we will use that opportunity to have a trade that is worth giving you the Lord.
I feel like honestly, considering that especially the carry is just taking so long to spike up to the late game, you're gonna require Simba and Lumu to just go and do a lot of damage, do a lot of aggression here. Because if you look at the stats, right, at least when it comes to orange buffs, he's been able to actually go into the jungle of Aurora and try and find trade-offs from those big teamfight moments. But unfortunately, they weren't using the Joy in the early game as like one of the main playmaking tools. And I think that could be something they can try and do in the next game.
Yeah, Joy definitely, one of the reasons why we see teams prioritize that is because it has such impact from, early to mid game especially, and then the impact is still there in the late game. But like you mentioned, Rashi, I agree with that. I think the carry just takes a little bit too much time. It's one of those picks that, yes, it's also just very singular focused. The damage potential is great against some of the more durable heroes, the tanks, but you need to buy so much time. So if you don't have control on that early game, again, you're against a Roger and an Angela combination alone, you're going to struggle in terms of the way things are going time-wise for the team, and that's kind of what we saw unfold here.
We have been used to see Angela getting like in combo or like in sync with some, let's say, specific picks, utility heroes mostly. So after seeing it being combined with that Roger, do you think that we will see that as a thing happening during the whole series?
I think it's always been a thing, man, with the Roger, and technically sometimes with the 1-1 as well.
But at the past, like really far away before these updates. So I haven't seen a Roger getting played lately, generally. So having him with an Angela, yeah, it is something that we have all seen before, but from a long time ago.
Exactly. I mean, the Roger Angela, I think the building blocks of this strategy are present, right? Movement speed, snowball potential, damage. And, it works well with the big shielding because he is not very tanky either. So I think that kind of potential is available, but teams just haven't been